誰にも褒められない命。
What's up, you beautiful collectors and Transformer fans? Once again, it's the one and only Optibotimus coming at you with another video review. And on today's episode, thanks to all of your support, especially those of you that are Optibotimus Plus channel members, we're going to be taking a look at the new Transformers Legacy Evolution Voyager class Metalhawk. The leader of the Pretenders is here to help celebrate, I believe it's the 25th anniversary of Super God Master Force, which is a series that I did watch and actually kind of enjoyed. Most of the Japanese series I was not that big of a fan of, but I kind of like this one. It depicted the Pretenders as Transformers that arrived here on Earth back in like the Stone Age, and while the Decepticons took on forms of beasts which were used to terrorize humans back then, and subsequently kind of leading to a lot of our mythology about ancient monsters, the Autobots took a different route. Harnessing the power from the Earth itself, both the Autobots and Decepticons could actually change how they look. And like I said, while the Decepticons decided to change into beasts, the Autobots chose to change into humans. And unlike the Western version of Pretenders, where the Autobots and Decepticons went into shells of humans and beasts as a way to kind of hide, which was always weird because they would be giant robot-sized humans, in Super God Master Force, they could actually change their size and shrink down to the size of regular people. And now granted, Metalhawk here does not come with a little man, which kind of is disappointing, I think. This heavy retool of Cyclonus still looks really very cool. For the package though, as you can see, you got a really cool image of him in his jet mode right there. Of course, you have the plastic-free packaging. So you have this open section here, which allows you to, touch the figure. In case you're interested in some bio, you can scan that little code right there. You come around to the side, you got a pull back image and an up close image of them right there on this side of the box. The other side of the box shows other figures and other characters that are coming out or has already come out. When you come around to the back of the package, you can see that he transforms in 18 steps, and of course he's got Evo Fusion, which means his guns combine. Yeah, that's it. It's kind of funny because that's something that's been going on for the longest time, but now they're just kind of giving it a name and hyping it up, so that's funny to me. But then, of course, you got images of him in his robot and his jet mode, which look fantastic. And it really does look like he jumped off the screen of that Super God Master Force series. So, definitely one that I'm excited to take a look at. But for the package on this guy, that's about it. So, without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. And here we have Metalhawk opened up out of his packaging and in his vehicle mode. And while, as I mentioned, this is pretty much a complete reshell of the Earthrise Cyclonus, there is so much that is done differently to this figure that it really gives him almost an entirely new feel. Starting off first with his accessories, I don't really get it. I mean, the guns peg in here quite specifically. You got these little tiny slots that go up and down right here that peg in via these little ports right here. So when you put them in, it does a couple things. It kind of creates some extra wings, which looks cool, but it also has a gun that shoots the back of his wing, which is kind of silly. You also do have his sword that can plug here to the top. Again, you got two little rectangular slot sections that lock things in right there. But you also have a post right here, and you got a little hole right here that this post can plug into. So I don't really understand why you need to have both of those. I mean, I guess you could kind of do it where it's going backwards. That looks a little bit better than having a weird sword sticking out there. I mean, that's kind of like swooshish looking, I guess. Swooshish? Is that a word? I don't know. But you do have those. It is kind of unfortunate that these are not painted. They're just molded in this very gray plastic that kind of the rest of the body has, which I'll touch on these little pieces here in a little bit when I do the comparison to Cyclonus, because pulling out Cyclonus to do a comparison for this, I discovered something on mine that I'm not a very big fan of. But this plastic looks like it's basically the same, so who knows. But you can actually combine these right there, and now you have a double blaster with two handles, which makes things uncomfortable. But you also can't like attach this. So I don't know. That, I mean, is what it is. But you do have those little guys. I mean, the molding and everything is really cool on here. It kind of looks like a Dinobot sword. How there's like this little wire section right here, and then that kind of, like I said, kind of looks like a Dinobot's kind of sword. But you know, it is what it is. But vehicle mode wise, looks really cool. You can kind of get the idea of what Cyclonus look like here, because there's a lot that's here. The ugliest part would probably be these sections up here, how they're kind of far away. Those are those little, like, air intake things. But it definitely is just his shoulders. You can plainly see what's going on here. For the most part, though, he cleans up pretty decently, and I'm happy with how he looks. It isn't overly spectacular, but it is kind of cool. But bringing in Cyclonus, you can really see the vast difference between these two guys. It really quite impressive. But again, if you know how to handle this guy, you're going to know basically how this guy operates. The engineering and the transformation is essentially the same. There are some minor differences to it, but realistically the motions are all still going to be there. But you can see like how the wings, instead of being back here, are now towards the front, and they're going the opposite direction. I mean, that's really cool. I mean, quite literally, you could probably detach this. And basically, you can see what's going on here. Now, they covered this up a little bit better, but that's actually, I mean, it's really cool. And like I said, it gives you a completely different figure. Now, one thing, while I have them out here, you can hear just squeezing. I mean, there's some creaking. Listen to this. I don't remember the plastic feeling this brittle. It honestly sounds like it's a 30-year-old toy. This one doesn't have it, but also you're noticing this stupid ass discoloring with some of the plastic. I don't know why that's still continuing on. I know we had that with some figures before. I don't know if this is part of that whole, you know, it was messing up, so let's fix it kind of thing. But that really kind of pisses me off. But it makes me wonder, because some of those little joint sections are shared. Like, for example, those are his elbow bits right there. He's got those there. So I don't know if this is going to happen. Time will tell, obviously. But same thing like with the upper part of his hips. Not so much his thighs, but like his hip area. And you'll see it more in the robot mode. Those are the same pieces as well. So time will tell. We'll do a full-on comparison when I get this guy here in robot mode. But that is definitely disappointing. And you can see you got a lot more of it through here. Like this section right here, this section here. Obviously, these guns come from the same sort of thing. So, again, time will tell. Not a very big fan of it. But because this guy does have a slightly different transformation, I am going to go ahead and show that to you guys, just so you can get the full look. So first, I'm going to take these legs and straighten these all the way out. Pull these all the way down, and then you can split these. Come around here to the back section, lift this up, fold out the foot, collapse this, tuck that back down. Do that on this side as well. Lift this back section up, bring this in, fold the foot out, and collapse that entire thing down. Now the legs are basically done. I still don't like how these legs have that weird thing, because that's still there, but just going to shift that there. Legs are basically done. Now this section here, you want to detach this and this. This whole thing here, kind of pull this up, pull this away. Then this whole bit here is going to tuck down. This will rotate around. You have the clearance here, there we go. And that's going to come back. Don't close that quite yet, because you need to bring everything together. You're going to then rotate this section around. And these, actually, you got these different hinges here. You need to hinge this in so it kind of sits in this little slot area. Right there, get that there. Put that there, there we go. And then bring this up and in. Hinge that in, and then you bring this whole thing together. And Get that in there. This is going to collapse up, but it is kind of tricky to do. It kind of pops things out a little bit. So kind of hold it there and then bring this all the way in. And no, see, that didn't do it. Because you got these little posts down here that these little sections here have to slide in here, but you have to make sure that these stay together first when you're doing it. So, like I said, it does get a little bit tricky to do. And then just kind of hold that in. There we go. Lock that in like so. And take these wings, detach these. You got these double hinge sections. You just put this along the back. Do that on this side as well. Fold out his hand. Just like that. Fold out his hand. Just like that. Kind of straighten everything up. Make sure that you get his legs balanced properly. And when you're done, you can see, like I said, it's a very similar transformation, but there are definitely some subtle differences to it that, again, in addition to the very newly molded pieces that are on him, really does make him feel like he's a completely different figure, which is really very, very cool. But there you have Metalhawk in his robot mode. And again, despite the fact that this is a kind of reshell of that Cyclonus figure, the look here in robot mode really does give you a very unique figure that does look vastly different than Cyclonus. For the weapons, as you can see, obviously you can have them hold them however you really want to. This is always kind of a weird one because he's only got one peg hole here for his fist, and then he's got two holes here, so you can kind of put that in there and kind of twist it, especially since the wrist kind of goes in, so you can kind of put it there and play with it and make it not look, I mean, like when it's like that, it looks like it's on an angle. So if you put it on the other post and then kind of rotate it around, it kind of looks a little bit more in line. So that looks a little bit better when you do it like that. Also, if you really wanted to, you could come around here to the back section. That peg hole is still there. So if you want to take a sword and peg that in there, you definitely can. However you really want to do that. Personal preference. But really a very cool looking figure. I also really like his head sculpt. Coming in to take a closer look at that. That is a great looking head sculpt. And realistically, like I said, I don't have any attachment to this character, but figure-wise, he turned out amazing. And looking at Metalhawk from the series, he really does look like he jumped right off of the screen. This is extremely well done, despite the fact that, like I said, he is basically a remold of Cyclonus. And you can see here that there is a huge difference between these guys. And I got all sorts of problems with Cyclonus that I mean are definitely going to get touched on, but you can see that he's taller, he's bigger. Look, I mean, just in general, quite impressive. Now, like I said, it does share some same engineering tricks and things of that nature, and there are some definite reused parts, like these shoulder sections here. Those are reused. Those elbow joints are reused. The torso's different. The thighs look the same, and the hip section up there is the same. But in general, a lot of stuff is very, very different on them. But this is what I was kind of talking about. So you can see these little joints. You can see how his are discoloring. You can see his fists are discoloring. You can see that the upper part here is discoloring. Even when you look at his neck looks like it's discoloring a little bit. And so disappointing. It really is. And it gives him a feeling that he's going to be more fragile. Like, I'm really worried that these are going to do that whole GPS or gold plastic syndrome sort of thing. And one thing that I'm not, like, these are, for whatever reason, very tight on mine. And it ends up, when you rotate them, it just completely shears that off. I'm worried, though, that if this continues to kind of degrade, that, get that on there. Seriously, like, that is really, really tight. And it makes me worry that that stress is going to make this plastic just shear off and become brittle and fall apart, and that really is very disappointing. I don't have any kind of understanding of why that is, other than the fact that friends of mine have talked about how Hasbro is probably using a different type of plastic, which is cheaper, which ends up resulting in this discoloration. But you can totally see that it's different. Like, the upper part is different than the rest of it, and the same thing down here with the legs. So I don't know if that's going to happen with this guy, but those parts are identical. So time will tell, I guess. I mean, it does look bad on here. I don't want to kind of mitigate this. It looks bad, and that's really, really unfortunate. As it stands now, this guy looks good. Time will tell. Articulation-wise, the same thing with the head rotating around, the shoulders moving in and out, forward and back. You have that hinge at the elbow, the rotation, the wrist kind of moves in. It does. Does it rotate? I don't remember if it rotates. Oh yeah, the wrists rotate around. That's nice to see. He does have a waist swivel, hips forward and back. These are definitely not as tight, but in that, oh, you know what? It actually feels like it locks in there, which is good. That other one, like, you can't rotate that. You could see how difficult that was, but you have that stupid hinge down here at the knee. The ankles do move forward. They move in and out slightly. Well, no, not more slightly. I mean, they can. It doesn't go back or anything, but all that articulation is basically there that you have on him, and he's a stellar looking figure. He really, really is. I just don't have much of a connection to him, but that's not to say that he's a bad toy. Another comparison, this is always kind of weird to me, but here's Skullgrin, who was a Pretender as well, and it's weird to me that he's as big as he is when this guy is kind of small. I really do wish that he was a Voyager. Like, all of these Pretender figures, I feel like, should have been a Voyager figure, but there you go. You can set up your Super God Master Force display with him here. It looks pretty good. I mean, I like it. In general, like I said, the figure is really good. I am very concerned about how that plastic is going to be over time, but he cleans up very nicely. The colors all look really good. This kind of has a almost mustardy yellow kind of look to it, with a nice Autobot logo there, some extra red details. Head sculpt, I think, looks fantastic. The very nice blue color looks exceptionally well with the red. I mean, all of that looks really... No, that doesn't rotate down. Well, does it? I don't remember. I know that Cyclonus did. No, that doesn't rotate around. In general, if you like cool looking robots, he definitely is one, and I would recommend him. If you are a big fan of Super God Master Force, this is definitely one that I would add to your collection. For me, as being more of that G1 style fan before the Japanese series kind of took over, I don't have too terribly much attachment to this character, and truthfully, I've already found somebody that's interested in buying this, but I still wanted to do the review and showcase just how good the toy is. Just for me, I have all of my stuff set up, by series, by episodes, or movies, I should say, and I don't really have a shelf for Japanese stuff. So it's not one that was going to be able to find a place in my collection, but hopefully it can find one in yours. So all that being said, if the one and only Metalhawk is a figure that you would like to add to your collection, he will be hitting various retail locations fairly soon. Or as always, you can do the real simple thing and go online to places like Big Bad Toy Store, Amazon, or even Entertainment Earth. As a special bonus, if you click on that link to Entertainment Earth in my video description, it'll take you there, and if you have an order that's over $39, it'll ship to you for free. And by clicking on that link, you can save yourself 10% off anything that's in stock, helping all of you viewers of mine to save a little bit of extra money. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. Once again, I want to thank you all for tuning in and watching. Again, this is the one and only Optibotimus saying adios, au revoir, and Auf Wiedersehen.